It is 1 p.m. in Damascus. It is 11 a.m. here in London. I'm Monita Rajpal. This is World One. Stop your husband, speak out for peace, and don't be a bystander. That's a plea from the wives of two top UN diplomats to the woman who has stood by her husband's brutal repression.
Stand up for peace, Asma.
CNN's Ivan Watson is following developments from Istanbul and Turkey. He joins us now live. And Ivan, tell us a little bit, what kind of impact could Asma al-Assad even have?
Well, I mean, this is definitely a new, unusual pressure tactic we're seeing. A video produced by the wives of the ambassadors of Germany and France to the United Nations.
Thank you, Ivan Watson there in Istanbul. Well, let's get more now from someone with a wide experience of diplomacy in conflict zones. Sir John Holmes is a British diplomat playing a part in the UK response to the war in Lebanon. Much for being with us. At what point do you believe, I mean, there are many on the ground that are saying the ceasefire is not holding, and some will even go as far as to say it's actually not even just a band-aid solution, it's a joke. At what point do you believe military intervention would be the best answer?
I think it's too soon to write off the ceasefire because it's only a few days old. Clearly it's very fragile.
Thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Now, if you go to CNN.com, you can find out what activists on the ground are thinking about the government's promises to maintain this ceasefire. There's a critical 100 days begin today for the organizers of the London's Olympic Games. Not only are they looking at soaring costs to ensure security during the 2.5 weeks of competition, they're also facing growing concern that the influx of sports people, officials and spectators will make getting around the capital next to impossible. CNN's Jim Bolton is in London's Trafalgar Square with the latest on the Olympics build-up. And Jim, you know, you and I live in this city. We know how difficult it can be just to get around on a daily basis. Imagine what it's going to be like when the Olympics come to town.
Yeah, transport was always going to be the main issue. You know, the infrastructure is built, the venues were built well.
Efforts to resolve the bitter fighting between Sudan and South Sudan are gathering pace. The United Nations Security Council has been meeting to discuss whether to impose sanctions on the two countries if they don't put down their weapons. An organization called the International Rescue Committee says border fighting between the north and south is creating a serious humanitarian crisis. It says up to 20,000 people are now taking shelter at the Yida refugee camp in South Sudan. An estimated 400 new people turn up there every day. And that's where Elizabeth Pender is. She's a women's protection expert at the IRC. She joins us now on the phone. Now, Elizabeth, thank you for being with us. How is the IRC dealing with this influx of refugees now?
Well, as you know, our main priority is the safety, security.
Afghan extremists have been accused of poisoning more than 100 schoolgirls because they object to education for women. Officials in the northeast of the country say the girls and some of their teachers were taken to hospital after their school's water tank was deliberately contaminated. Well, it wouldn't be the first time a girls' school has been targeted. Mohammed Jamjoon joins us now live from Kabul with more on that. Mohammed, thank you. Mohammed Jamjoon there in Kabul. You are watching World One live from London. Just live from London. Here are some of the stories that we're following. 11 U.S. Secret Service members and up to 10 military personnel continue being questioned over allegations that some of them brought prostitutes to their hotel in Colombia last week ahead of a visit by President Barack Obama on Tuesday. In the U.S. and for most of the past year, not even his own party seemed enthusiastic about Mitt Romney. But despite that, there are now signs the U.S. really could have a President Romney in a matter of months from now. The former governor of Massachusetts has emerged as the Republicans' all but certain choice to run against Barack Obama. The Syrian ceasefire is on fragile ground with more reports of violence by the day. President Bashar al-Assad promised to withdraw military forces from towns and cities across Syria, but Neil Connery got a chance to see for himself the situation in the city of Al-Qusar, where Syrian troops and tanks are still in position and civilians are still being killed. Let's see what newspapers around the world are saying about this. The National, based in the United Arab Emirates, has this headline: "Not even in our dreams can the UN live up to its rhetoric." It's a comment piece that says nothing typifies the Security Council's enduring inertia more than the archaic veto system. It has already had catastrophic consequences on the Syrian crisis. Russia and China exercising the right to protect their interests in Syria, just as the US has used its veto to help Israel. In the age of citizen journalism and social network activism, the UN's snail-paced progress is unacceptable. The Scottish newspaper The Scotsman has an opinion piece headlined "Regional politics are increasingly a force for global good." It says a longer-term resolution of the Syrian crisis depends as much on Turkey and the Arab League as it does on the United States and Russia. When a regional institution will not act, outside powers find it difficult to intervene. But when a region does unite on a course of action, intervention becomes either less necessary or more effective. And finally, in Turkey, today Zaman has this headline: "Ankara at crossroads on the Syrian crisis." It comments on Turkey's long-term diplomatic goals, saying Damascus needs partners to help rehabilitate Syrian society after the prolonged crisis and to start a political process that would lead to a more pluralistic and democratic Syria. Turkey is the most viable regional partner to help Syria do this. If Turkey wants to become a game maker and an order enforcer in its region, it should keep its friends close, and Syria and Iran even closer. It has been more than a decade since NATO troops first landed in Afghanistan. Their objective then to rout the Taliban. Now, NATO ministers in Brussels are holding their annual meeting, and their objective to plot the pullout of forces from Afghanistan. Foreign Affairs reporter Elise Labbit joins us now via Skype from Brussels with more on what they're discussing. The plot and the planning of pulling out has already begun. So what are they talking about now?
Well, Monita, this is the last big meeting before the NATO summit in Chicago.
In Brussels. You're watching World One live from London. Two European football giants face off in the Champions League. A lot of football experts are predicting an all-Spanish final in the Champions League this year. But after the first match of the semi-finals, it's too soon to be sure. Alex Thomas is here with more on that.
Yeah, you're right, Monita. Real Madrid coach Jose Mourinho claimed a draw would have been a fairer result. It's not quite as spectacular on the ground.
No, it isn't.
I'd have thought. And I don't know about the sort of little golden ball with the wings.
Is there another sport? Isn't that lacrosse? That looks like lacrosse to me.
It is, yeah. Don't tell the Quidditch people that.
Just saying.
Look out for it at London 2012.
All right, Alex. Thank you very much. You are watching World One live from London. Coming up, we'll tell you what's trending online and what's heading your way on the weather front with Mari Ramos. Mari.
Hey, Monita.
The front runner for the French presidency, François Hollande, has picked up a valuable vote ahead of Sunday's poll. The former right-wing president, Jacques Chirac, has unexpectedly cast his support behind the socialist, but that doesn't make campaigning any easier. A new survey finds that French to be among the most negative people in the world, a sentiment all the candidates will need to bear in mind over the next 4 days.
On the surface, you'd say the French have it all. Short and CNN, Paris.
Well, a lot of us may not be feeling pretty happy these days as storm clouds are gathering above Europe this week. Meteorologist Mari Ramos is at the World Weather Center with those details. Hey, Mari.
Hello, Monita. What a mess, right? We went from very warm and dry conditions to now very...
Well, rain, Mari, may not be what the folks in Christchurch, New Zealand will be wanting as we explain what's hitting our top 3 stories on social media. Cardboard might not sound like the most durable material, but that's what they're using in Christchurch to build a new cathedral. It'll be a temporary replacement for the 130-year-old cathedral that's been demolished because of earthquake damage. Designers say the cardboard version could last up to 30 years. They say. Interesting. Well, at number 2, the web is all abuzz over the new scoop on Facebook's purchase of Instagram. According to the Wall Street Journal, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg managed to halve Instagram's original asking price of $2 billion to just $1 billion. And the Journal says he did the whole deal himself, face-to-face with the founder of Instagram, only telling Facebook board members when the agreement was in the bag. The news went public the very next day. And at number 1, Olympic athletes have 100 days left to prepare and get their heads around new rules on using social media at the Games in London. Certain things are forbidden, like tweeting photos or videos of themselves with any commercial products, unless they are products made by Olympic sponsors. There's a lot of conversation about that online. Sports fans are worrying that if they too will be told what to do and what not to do. Now, if you think you can escape a canine cop, think again. This car thief in the United States learned the lesson the hard way. A police dog was sent in after the carjacking suspect. The dog did a great job. That's dedication for you. You are watching World One live from London. I'm Monita Rajpal. Thank you for joining us. We'll update you the news headlines right at the top of the hour, right here on CNN.